Hi guys, how you all doing? Cool. Okay then. Well, today I wanted to do a tutorial on VBA classes. I've already created some methods and some functions. I've also created the module and the class modules to save typing. If you're not familiar on how to insert modules and classes, you go over to your project properties panel, you right click, you go to the insert menu item and you click insert module and you click insert class module. And that will give you this module and this class. To change the name of the class, to change the name of the module, down here you look at your properties window, go to the name, type in rename. If you don't see the properties window, you can go over to view and then find the properties window, F4, select it, and you will see your properties window. Over here I've created a main function which contains the calling procedures and the initializers for the class. Down here I've created a method which initializes our stock object, which I'll come to in a minute. Down here we've got our getStock function which returns a specific stock based on its stock date. Okay, so first things first, what is a class? Well, in simple terms, you can imagine your class as being a container that contains properties, methods and functions, and then the container itself can be reused again and again and again, making each of the elements contained within it, such as the functions, the methods and the properties, unique to that particular instance of that class, as I will demonstrate in a minute. By double clicking on your class module, you will see a blank page. In mine, you'll see I've already entered some properties. You'll notice that these have got the unique name of property and then a let, and property and a get. Now both these are the same property. One will allow you to assign a value and one will allow you to retrieve the value. In this particular example, I've created a property called stock date, and the parameter we're going to be passing in is a date, and below that we have the get property, which is the method we're going to use to retrieve the stock date, and again it is of type date. These are set up very much like functions. So the let property, you pass in the parameter as shown here, and for the get property you append the as and then the property type at the end, in this particular case date. Then within the method, or in this particular case the property, you would say that your method name is equal to the parameter that you wish to return. Again, with the assignment property, you'll create a property within your class. So for example, up here we have the stock date, sDate. So here you'll see that I've created a parameter called sDate of type date. Now this is private and only visible within the class, so we can't access that from outside of our class, so we access it via our two properties. Okay, so we assign this date, the date D here that we're passing into our let property, and then when we want to return the date, we use our get property and we assign the function name, the sDate property that we have up here. All that I've done now is created more of the same. Let get, let get, let get, and we've got stock date, we've got the high value of the stock, let and get, we've got the low value of the stock, let and get, so that's the low price value if you know anything about the stock market, and we've got the closing price value. And then to demonstrate a function within a class, I've created a function down here which is get the difference between the closing price and the opening price of this particular stock. That's pretty much it for setting up the class. You of course can create any type of property that you so wish. It doesn't have to be stock data, it could be people, cars, any type of data that you so wish. Okay, as you can see, it's very much similar to a module. Virtually identical, the only difference being we are using these property values. You can use subs, you can use functions, and you can create code within these classes in exactly the same way as what you would do with a module, whereby they are completely unique to the class itself and only accessible from within that class, or if you make them public, accessible to the calling routine. So now we're going to go back to our stock module. Here what I want to do is create an array of stocks. Okay, so I've created a stock list as a variant. This is going to be our array of stocks. Here I've created a parameter called date. This is going to hold the required date that we want to find a particular stock for later on in the example. And here I've created an array of stocks. Okay, and we've only created 2 stocks in this particular example, but if you notice, the definition here and the definition here are identical. Now this is the cool thing about classes. Okay, this class and this class is the same object. It's the same class, same object. Okay, and within each of these, the data is identical, the methods and the parameters. Okay, now later on you'll see that when we pass the data into that particular class, it becomes unique. So in this particular case here, the class or the object contains this date, this price, this price, this price, and this price. Okay, I then assign that particular stock object to array element 0, and then I create another one and I store that into array element 2. Okay, so element 1 is this new stock item up here, element 2 is this new stock item up here. Now what this has done in memory is created 2 templates based on this class definition over here, and then within each of those templates we have memory locations which contain the relevant information that we're passing into it. So to all intents and purposes we are using 2 lots of memory. Okay, however within the code we only have 1 class stock definition, so it basically saves you having to write method after method after method containing unique arrays or whatnot and structures to hold all this information. The cool thing about it is you just need 1 single stock object as created over here, and then you can just reuse it by going new stock, new stock, new stock. So for example here I'll just create a new element called new stock. Down here I'll reinitialize that one and store that into our new element 2. Okay, we can change some of the parameters, so we'll call this month 3 and we'll change some of these values to make it unique. Okay, 5.5 and whatever, leave it at 5.2. Okay, this dt heat equals here, this is the date that we want to find later on, so I'll move this down here just to make it a little bit more readable. The test stock method here is a method that I've written for initializing these class objects, okay, just to make life a little bit easier for myself. Down here you'll see we've got a function. Okay, I called it a method, I actually meant function, I do apologize. And we're passing into it stock date, and then we're passing into it all the parameters for our stock, the open and closing prices and the high and low prices. Within the method we're creating an object called stock based on our class object stock here. Okay, so we're saying stock is equal to, or the template is equal to class stock, and then we're saying what we want to do here is create a new stock item, and we're setting our stock item here to the new creation. Okay, so we have our function, our initialization function, which we call each time we want to create a new stock object. We pass into it our date, and then our opening and our closing values, and our highs and our low values. Within this function we are creating a new reference to our class stock object. Okay, so we now at this point have an object in memory called stock, and that will allow us to access each of our properties that we showed earlier within the class. So what I'm doing here is assigning the stock date, the open, close, and the high and low values, and then I am actually setting the method name, because we've got a function here. So you set to return the actual value back to the calling procedure, you have to set the method name to the actual parameter that you wish to return. This then returns the new stock object that we created here back to the calling routine up here, back here, and stores it into our array stock list 0. Then the whole process is repeated for array element 1 and again for array element 2. Okay, so at this point I'll put a breakpoint here and we'll run the program, and then we'll put a watch onto our stock list array, and you'll see here within the array we have 3 elements. Okay, these are the classes that we've just created, and each one of those, you can see, creates all the parameters, the properties that we created. You'll also see the private properties in here, but you can't access these from outside the class. But these are the properties that you can access from within your calling routine, and you'll see that they are first to the first, first to the second, and first to the third. So they're all unique. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to get a particular stock value, stock object for a particular date. Our example date we're going to use is going to be the 1st of the 2nd 2014, which we know is in the middle of our array up here. So we're going to create a new wanted stock item as class stock, and then we're going to set it as new class stock. So we're going to go set wanted equals new class stock, and then we're going to set wanted equals get stock. So that will return an object reference from our class and assign it to our wanted stock object here. And then we want to debug and print one of the parameters, one of the properties, and we can do that using IntelliSense. So we can type wanted dot, and then you can see here the properties available to you. So we want the opening price, and let's say we want the closing price. Okay, we'll run the program, and now you can see the opening and closing prices. Okay, so as you can see, it's not that difficult at all. Hopefully I've explained it relatively clear. I'm not the world's greatest presenters, but I did my best. If you have any questions, feel free to fire away, drop me a message. If you like the video, please thumbs up, and feel free to comment and subscribe to my channel. Okay, thank you very much again. Thanks for your time, and until next time, have a good one.